Happy Easter, everyone. I am coming to you 5 p.m. my time, which means the majority of you at 7 p.m. So I'm leaving this to the last minute. Strasbourg, that was what we did some more reading on this week. And I must say it, more than anything, just confirmed how I already felt about not necessarily him, but the whole concept of method acting. And for me, I've said this multiple times already. I stay away from kind of the emotional memory stuff, and I stay away from it as an actor, and I stay away from it as a teacher, particularly because students are young that we work with. But it doesn't mean that I don't believe that it's a method that's credible or that it's a method that works. I mean, obviously, if you look at the Actors Studio, there's a ton of greats that have been incredibly successful using the method, and you can't discount that. What blows me away in all of the readings that we've done on Strasbourg or method acting or even Stanislavski is the amount of fighting that has gone on the American side of, like, from the members of the group. So whether it's Alder or Meisner or Strasbourg, they can't seem to accept that you're allowed to differ in opinion and have success, and that there's no one perfect way. It's about finding what's right as an actor. And for us as educators, it's about giving students little snippets of information so that they can find what works for them. And it feels like there's an untold story. Something else happened that made them so angry at each other. And whether it's an ego thing or whether it's a jealousy thing, it doesn't seem to be about necessarily the method, because at the end of the day, they're all rooted in a lot of Stanislavski stuff, and they're all rooted in practice and what actors find that work. So it just confirmed a lot. The thing that stuck out to me that I hadn't read before was that Strasbourg encouraged people to use memories from more than 7 years ago, so that it wasn't so raw and it would be easily controlled, which for me just confirms that I shouldn't really be using it with teens, because if we go 7 years ago, if they're in grade 9, they're going to be like 6 years old, and that's going to be a completely irrelevant memory for an adult character. So it kind of reinforced that a little bit with some science. I think the most difficult thing for me this week was putting together a lesson plan, because I haven't been shy about my belief in not using the emotional memory. And so how do I create a unit overview or a sampling of exercises, whatever you want to call it, that follows his method but doesn't put my teens at risk and that I'm comfortable with. And so I really had to dig into kind of my toolbox and find exercises that worked and were in line with what Strasbourg was teaching, but didn't 100% go into the depths of emotion. And that's where I actually found the chapter in here really, really useful. And it wasn't one of the required readings, but I noticed there was a chapter on Strasbourg. And so if you haven't read this chapter 5, it was like after the American Revolution, I believe. Yeah, I would really encourage you to do it, because it's much like the Stanislavski chapter, where it takes people through kind of a lesson and a method. And as I started reading that, I went, oh, I do that exercise in my classroom. Like, I work on relaxation, and I work on focus, and I work on, like, building a setting through the 5 senses and things like that. So I was able, in my unit overview, to kind of pull a lot of those exercises out and relate them back to method acting, because the reality is we probably all use something from that method, whether we call it or not. I just wish people would stop judging. Like, if it works for you, use it. And if it doesn't, don't. That's kind of where I'm at with all that. But I'm really excited to get into Alder next week, because I suspect, whether I call it the Alder method or not, I suspect I, as an actor, use closest to what she teaches. So I'm excited for that. And I'm excited to hopefully not have to read as much. I can't talk. I'm excited to not read about so much fighting. Okay, I will see you next week.